Hello everyone, and welcome to your video tutorial on the right hand rule. And so we have a couple right hand rules. The first that I'm going to discuss deals with magnetic force on a traveling charge. Now, it's crucial that I say traveling charge because a charge that is stationary in a magnetic field will feel no force. So let's give this thing a velocity that is directed to the right. That is our velocity v. And let's say all around this point charge, I've got a force that is directed out of the page. Sometimes it's denoted circle dot, sometimes it's just dot. But just make sure you have your cutie shot and then you will be fine. Okay. So all around, magnetic field coming out of the page like this. Okay, so the right hand rule to get the force on that charge, you run your fingers along the velocity like so. Then you curl your fingers in the direction of the magnetic field. Well, how my fingers can curl right now is only in. If I turn my fingers like this, they can only curl up. I have to turn my hands sideways like this. Fingers are still pointing along the velocity. They can now curl out of the page, and I have a force that is directed down. That would be my magnetic force at that instant. Now, that force, by definition, is perpendicular to that velocity because magnetic force is a cross product of velocity and magnetic field. The magnetic force on a charge is QVB sine theta. Now in this case, the angle between magnetic field and velocity is 90 degrees. So sine of 90 is just 1. So because of that, the magnetic field can't do any work on this charge. It can change its direction, yes, but not its actual magnitude of velocity. So this thing would rotate around in a circle like so. Everywhere your velocity is tangent and your force, your magnetic force, is directed back in towards that center. It's the centripetal force. Now, if I make that a negative charge, you can still use the right-hand rule, but whatever you get, make the force the opposite. I always do positive for right hand, and then I do the same thing, but for the left hand if it's a negative charge. So if I made this negative, I take my left hand, fingers along velocity, curl in the direction of the field, and my force would be up. So that is the right-hand rule for a charge. Now, a current-carrying wire, let's say my current is running this way, and let's say again my magnetic force is coming out of the board. Okay. I still do the right-hand rule, and it's really not all that different. The current is really kind of like the direction of the velocity. You run your fingers along the current, curl them in the direction of the field, and this wire would experience a force that is directed down. Now, that's force on a current-carrying wire. And the force on a wire is given to you as BIL sine theta, where sine theta is now the angle between the length of the wire, which is basically the wire, and the magnetic field. In this case, again, it's 90 degrees. So that right-hand rule, fingers along the current, curl in the direction of the field, thumb is the direction of the force. That's for force on a current-carrying wire. But the last right-hand rule that we have is for finding out the direction of a magnetic field that the current-carrying wire itself is creating. So here's my current. Let's just say that my current is running to the left. Here's how you figure out how this current is generating a magnetic field, because current generates a magnetic field, and magnetic field can generate a current. Okay? So, here's how we figure out the direction of the magnetic field. Grab the wire so that your thumb points in the direction of that current. So I'm grabbing like so. As I'm grabbing, my fingers above the wire are going into the board, which means above this wire, I have magnetic field going in. As my fingers wrap around and they come out of the board below, which means below, it is generating a magnetic field out. So let's say that below this wire, you had another current carrying wire with current flowing in the opposite direction. Well, here's what's crazy. That top wire generates a magnetic field out. And the magnetic field that it generates exerts a force on this current carrying wire. So remember, move your fingers in the direction of the current. Curl them in the direction of the field, and that wire would experience a force that is directed down. Now, what about the top wire? This wire, the bottom wire, is also generating a magnetic field because of its current. Now, let me run and grab my blue marker really fast. Couldn't find it? So, here we go. Bottom wire. Grab it so that your thumb points in the direction of the current. Above this wire, it is generating a magnetic field out. So I will draw its field on that wire. Okay? If this is wire A, this is the magnetic field created by wire A. Below wire A, it's got a magnetic field going in. So that top wire, call it wire B. That top wire now has a magnetic field on it. So to figure out the direction of the force on this wire, fingers in the direction of the current, curl them in the direction of the field that's actually on the wire. Fingers curl out, thumb points up. That wire would experience a force that's directed up. Two wires, current in opposite directions, they repel each other. So hopefully that helps you out with your right hand rules.